Hi, we're not on our range today. We're coming to you from the back deck of a house in beautiful downtown Lincoln City. So, hopefully you won't have to put up with any gunfire in the background. However, there may be all kinds of other noises in the background. Now, what we're talking about today are 3-day survival packs, or as they're called these days, 3-day emergency kits. And it comes with a few caveats and disclaimers. The first one being that we're going to make two versions of today's presentation, a long version and a short version. You're watching the short version. The second one is, a lot of times when I talk about various types of gear, I'll say that even if I say you should do this or you should remember that, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. This isn't a tutorial. I'm just explaining what I do and why. No, today we are giving you advice and we are telling you some things that we think you should do. But the third thing is, anything we say are our opinions. I make no claim that my opinion has its origin in the mind of greatness. Our opinions are based on our education, our training, our experience. Different people have different experiences, so they have different opinions. Now, my experience has a lot to do with being in some third world countries and with the National Guard being there for the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and I've been in the military a long time, just stuff that I've done in the field by myself. Roy's experience is like that, but also from a law enforcement perspective, he's done a lot with search and rescue with the sheriff's office. And when I say a lot, I mean still doing it to this day. He's done stuff with them last week. And he has had to search for and rescue people that got themselves into various crises. And he's seen what gear or lack of gear worked and didn't work, and the decisions that people made that worked or didn't work out so well. And so he has had to search for and rescue people that sometimes didn't make it, and he knows what works and what doesn't. And so in addition to the shooting and the tactics and the guns and so forth, this type of stuff really is his area of expertise. Okay. Now what we're going to do today is, first I'm going to tell you my top 5 things for putting together a 3-day emergency kit, and then we'll take this pack apart and I'll show you the stuff that's in it, and then we'll have a wrap-up. So, the top 5 things are, 1, when it comes to a 3-day emergency kit, and it's still hard for me to say that, but that's the term we're using, don't buy one, make it. Now, I know that's contradictory to a lot of things I've said in the past, but kits like this that you buy, they're insufficient in terms of amount and quality of gear. You also have to customize it for your needs, what you think you're going to be doing, your level of skill and expertise. Your geographic area. Somebody that lives in Anchorage is going to need a different pack than someone who lives in Austin. Secondly, program compliance. This pack does you no good if you leave it behind. It has to be small and light. You have to have equipment that can multitask. Program compliance. You've got to have it with you. 3, remember this is a 3-day kit, not a Tiatuaki bug-out bag. A lot in common, but they're still different things. Remember, 3-day emergency kit. 4, local laws. Whatever crisis you're concerned about might happen tomorrow. It might happen decades from now. And if you put stuff that is not legal in your jurisdiction in your bag, things like 25-shot magazines when you live somewhere that you're only allowed to have 10-shot magazines, that kind of thing, the chances of it getting you into a legal jackpot are a whole lot greater than the chances of it saving you in a crisis. You've got to abide by your local laws. And 5, communications, and we'll talk more about that when we get there. So, with that, let's take this pack apart, put the stuff on the table, take a look at it. So here's the gear in my pack. Please forgive me if I do this while sitting down. Now what we have over here is food and water. Just a flask of water and these 6 12-ounce cans of drinking water. Now this is not that super chlorinated stuff. It actually tastes just like water, and it says 50-year pure water shelf life, store between 40 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 5 and 55 Celsius. Now in terms of food, what I've got to have is as much food as I can in the smallest space I can. So I've got some cans of sardines, smoked baby clams, kippered herring. I know to some of you that would be cringeworthy, but it's a lot of protein, a lot of fat, a lot of salt, a lot of minerals. And I have MRE pouches of peanut butter and jelly and cheese. Now these are pouches, got to keep them in a hard-sided container, otherwise they get punctured in the pack. Learn that the hard way. And I'm going to put all of those on this pilot bread crackers, which is just about a 1/4 inch thick, and the cracker is the same size and shape as the can. And that turns out pretty well. I also have dehydrated cherries, dehydrated strawberries, and yes, I'm serious, canned Twinkies. Now, these are future essentials. You can also find emergency essentials online, a lot of good stuff. And I'm telling you, if you got a cranky kid, canned Twinkie might be really nice. A couple of cans of Van Camp's Beanie Weenie, that's their pork and beans with the chopped up hot dog. Yeah, it's a funny name, but it is a good product. Now, these are the Pop Top cans, highly convenient, but sometimes this can get ruptured in your pack. You got to be careful with Pop Top cans. Got to make sure you pack them in the pack correctly. A spoon, of course. And last, certainly not least, and my apologies, I broke the lid on this. Pop the lid off. One envelope of Pop-Tarts. And it's even stamped into the container, pastries, toaster, quantity 2. A viewer made this for me. Very cool, thank you. Now, what I also have is, this is like a Mylar space bag, except it's a little bigger and heavier duty, and the reason it's so big is because, of course, I took it out and tested it, and it works just fine, and it never gets folded up as small as it originally was. But in addition to that, I do have a space bag and a space tent. It's got a cord you put through this tube, tie it up, use rocks or what have you to keep the corners in the right place, and it makes a tent with no front or back, but it's pretty good. Cheap poncho, why not a good military poncho? So it's smaller and lighter. Now, you can see my supply of cash here. Remember, we're not talking about Tiatuaki where you need your bling or silver bullion or what have you. In a lot of crises, stores will be open, but computers will be down. You can't use your credit card. You need cash. Sometimes they won't give you change, so you need a lot of small bills. Also, in a crisis, you might need to pay other people to help you out, like somebody who's able to make their escape from whatever crisis in their pickup. Hey, could I just jump in the bed of your pickup? Yeah, for money. Please remember that true crisis brings out the best in the best of us and the worst in the worst of us. So in addition to small bills, having 1 or 2 hundreds if you can. Sometimes when you show somebody 100, it's actually more effective than showing him 520s, even though they're the same amount. Cash in the pack is a good idea. I've got my Jericho 9mm pistol. It's loaded, but also 20 extra rounds of ammunition. I happen to think that building a fire, depending on the situation, can be extremely important, so I carry a lot of fire starting gear. Storm matches, but they're still in a waterproof container. The striker on the side and a striker inside it. An old waterproof match container with the Whitehead Strike Anywhere matches. A box of waterproof matches. This is a waterproof match container, but there are not matches in it. It just has these birthday cake candles. No, not the trick kind that relight, just the regular ones. Cheap, easy to use, light very easily, and they're really good for starting fires. I keep them in that waterproof match container so they don't break and get bits of wax all over the pack. I also have just this piece of cedar, which I can use shavings from. It's just a piece of wood, but cedar is very easy to light. And that might seem like a lot of fire starting stuff. Well, I also have, to be very redundant, more of the candles, a butane lighter, some of those Colins, Coglins, Coughlins, fire sticks, except these are the ones, well, hi there. He just flew into my house. Wow. Anyway, these are the ones that actually have the match head on them, and there's a striker in here. The fire sticks are waterproof. The striker is not, so I keep it in this container. And
here, let me help you with that while you come along. All right.
In addition to that, I also habitually carry a butane lighter in my pocket. Way more than I'd need, but to me, building a fire is extremely important. Black electrician's tape, which can be useful for many things. Military wire, useful for many things. Insect repellent. Now, this is not aerosol, it's just a pump spray. I had one of these, this size, that worked for 3 of us for 3 days in a very buggy environment. There's a lot of insect repellent in there. Now, personal hygiene. I've got my Ziploc bag that has toothbrush, toothpaste, floss, soap, shampoo, razor. You might think a razor? sometimes that's important. These things you get at the dollar store, it's a actual cloth towel, add water, there's out a little bit higher quality, smaller one, and there's a few of those still in this bag, very useful. My jug of vitamin and mineral supplements. Now it says super vitamin B complex. No, there's a whole bunch of different vitamin and mineral pills in there. Really good to maintain nutrition when nutrition might be hard to maintain. A big blade. Now this is not just a knife, but it's actually a very heavy knife. So it can be used as a knife and as a hatchet, and to a lesser extent as a machete. There are some people that feel the need to carry many blades. You know, you'll see people that have 10 knives. No, I don't think you need that many, but I do have several. Here's a combination: fork and spoon and can opener and corkscrew and knife blade. Gerber multi-tool, which has pliers and many other things, and of course also a knife blade, and I habitually carry a Swiss Army knife in my pocket. Long sleeve t-shirt. I find if I put that on just under my regular t-shirt that it's really helpful. And it's not in a Ziploc baggie because it usually comes in and out of the pack several times a day as the temperature changes. But in the baggie is extra socks, underwear, stocking hat, gloves, and I also have a big bath towel. If you've ever watched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, no further explanation is necessary, but a towel can do a lot of things.
Might need that here in a minute.
Yeah. This is an inflatable pillow. It's only a couple inches thick. You can sit on it to keep you insulated from the wet ground, or when trying to sleep on the ground, just put that under my hip is a good pad. We also have this inverter. You charge this up with a cell phone charger. It will hold the charge in my pack for months, and it's enough juice to recharge my cell phone about 3 times. Now, carrying a cell phone, I think, is very important. Being able to recharge it, very important. But I'm also of the opinion that you need communications, and the greater the emergency, the less likely it is that your cell phone is going to work. Sometimes, even if the system isn't damaged, if there's a crisis and everybody's talking about it all at once and too many people want to talk on the phone at the same time, the system doesn't work. So I'm going to say that if you have family and colleagues you need to communicate with, have a cell phone, have the means to recharge it, but also have those walkie-talkie CBs, look into shortwave, something like that. But another factor of communications is just being able to hear radio news or something like that, so you have some information about what's going on. And that brings me to this device right here. It's the Ready Hour combination flashlight AM/FM radio. Now, it's a flashlight, and it has AM and FM radio, or I can switch it to where it'll just get the weather stations. Got this extendable antenna, so it does have good reception. It's also a floodlight, which really can light up a room. Now, it uses 3 AAA batteries, or has an onboard battery that you can recharge with the solar cell, or recharge by cranking it, or recharge by plugging in your cell phone charger. Not only that, you turn the wire around and plug the USB end of your cord into this, and then plug the other end into your cell phone or whatever. You then crank it, and this can crank charge a flashlight or a cell phone or whatever you have that plugs into a cell phone charger. These type of devices, I've seen little ones that were sold for literally $2 and you get what you pay for. I've seen other things like this that were several times bigger than this and cost hundreds of dollars. This type of device, I think, is an absolutely valuable piece of equipment, and this particular one, for me, makes the best combination of price, features, quality, and size. I like this one so much that I have given these to a very short list of exclusive people. This particular one, at least for me, is a good one. Now, when I talk about radio, when the internet isn't working and when cell phones are down and when TV isn't working. About the last thing that will still work will be radio, especially AM radio. Your local radio station, unless there's a flood and the station is underwater or an earthquake has knocked down their tower, most of them will have fuel tanks, gasoline or diesel fueled generators, and they'll be able to stay on the air. And the really special thing about AM radio is that if you are in a crisis zone, at night you can get AM radio stations that are hundreds or thousands of miles away. As we're sitting here right now, we're about 500 meters from the beach. If the tsunami hit right now, we're high enough, we'd probably be okay, but most of the city wouldn't be. But as I'm trying to make my escape, here this close to the coast, at night this radio will pick up stations from Boise, well outside the crisis zone where maybe I can get some information. This kind of thing is, to me, just invaluable. And that about covers what I have in my pack. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Along with communications, ham radios, or the Aries people out there. And I'll just do some honorable mentions. I got a MyMedic Trauma / First Aid Kits, the mini IFAC. Along with water purification, we've got a Pure brand, the old-fashioned, put the one end of the hose into the creek or whatever you're filtering through, you pump the filter. So if you have multiple people you're trying to make water for, this would probably work a little bit better than Life Straws and individual filters. I got my couple firearms that I like to carry with me, and we have, instead of a big knife, sometimes you might want a hatchet, a smaller knife, and this one is the Hardcore Hammers Camp Companion they just came out with. Very sharp, very nice. I've used it a little bit. Overall, my pack, I like to compartmentalize a little bit better, and it'll be in the long version, but stuff I need to get to, first aid kit stuff on the outside so you don't have to dig it out. A big knife like Paul's, so I carry the big knife instead of the hatchet sometimes. My raincoat stuck in there. On the other side is a tourniquet on the outside you can get with both hands. A couple carabiners that are actually locking carabiners that are climbing rated, so if you need to, whatever reason, keep from falling down a hill or pull things, whatever. So I like Paul's idea of this battery radio thing. I've ordered one. I got one coming. And in my pack, I have the same type of stuff, a little bit different setup. Like we talked, we always do every individualized packs. So with that.
Okay. With that, let me put all this stuff away and we'll come back and have a brief recap. I know this is supposed to be the short version, but there's a couple more things we're going to harp on because they are so important. The main one being program compliance. You saw that I had the big pack of all that stuff, and there was actually a few more things I should have had in there. And reality check is, in my present condition with my fractured hip, there is no way I'm going to carry that pack. So I'm in the process of putting together a much smaller one. And of course it'll have my radio flashlight, a little bit of water, fork, knife, and spoon. But other than that, you got my space poncho, space bag, space tent, and a good deal of hope. And that might be just about all I can carry. But if that's all I can carry, then that's what I have to do, because you have to have the pack with you. I have met many people who show me their really cool, big survival pack that weighs 50 pounds and it gets left behind. Now, in trying to make your pack as small and light as you can, you have to have things that can multitask and so forth. And I showed you this Gerber multi-tool. I'm not going to go into all the things that this can do, but it's really cool. But this multi-tool, you fold it open. It's got pliers, a crimper, wire cutter, 2 different sizes of Phillips head, 2 different sizes of standard head screwdriver, and it's really a great little thing. Not even close to what the Gerber can do, but it's a whole lot smaller and lighter. And if that's all you can carry, then that's what you gotta have. This is the flashlight that I habitually carry in my pocket. And it's a flashlight, or an even brighter flashlight, and it recharges with a cell phone charger. So if I have this, And my crank thing, I can recharge it. And this is what I'll be carrying instead of this huge multi-phase, really great flashlight. Because you've got to have stuff that you can actually have, even if it means sacrificing some effectiveness and some usefulness. Now, you saw that I had that pistol in the pack. Guns in your 3-day emergency kit are a complex enough subject that we'll talk about those by themselves at a different time. But I have a couple of 1911 platforms that I think will make a point. Now, here's my Kimber stainless target 1911 platform, 45 ACP with a 6-inch barrel. Rugged, durable, reliable, accurate. Okay, but it's also big and heavy. So would I be better off using my Colt Defender 1911 with a 3-inch barrel, also 45 ACP? Obviously a lot smaller and lighter, but with a shorter barrel I'm giving away both ballistic power and probably some accuracy, and a little bit of firepower in that it has 7+1 instead of 8+1. Or, if you happen to be a 1911 aficionado, would you be better off with this Browning 1911 22, which is a whole lot smaller and lighter, and has a 10-shot magazine of 22 long rifle. And keep in mind, this is 20 rounds of 45 ammo, while this is 100 rounds of 22 long rifle. And which one would be better? As they've said so many times, the 22 that you have with you beats the 45 that you left at home. And you've got to have your pack with you. Now, have you ever actually dealt with a case where someone had a really good survival pack that they left behind or left in the car while they went out to do whatever and met their demise?
No, I have no personal experience with that, but I know of several of my colleagues throughout the state that have, where people frequently leave their gear in their car, or they're on a snow machine where they think they can get back, it breaks down 30 miles from their car and they end up meeting their demise, or bad things happen. They end up dying because they're left their gear in their car.
Because they had a great pack that wasn't worth a damn because they didn't have it with them.
Right.
Please keep that in mind. And please tune in to the long version of this. Okay, anything to add?
Go out, train, practice with your equipment so you can always be the best prepared for the worst case situation.